Good morning. Hello and welcome to another session of the Business Renovator. My name is Phil Jokes, or AKA Coach Phil. What I'd like to do is start with a quote out of my good buddy Brian Monahan's book. The book is Customer Delight, and the quote that we picked today is really a short one by Stephen Covey, but it goes in alignment with our guest, who I'm really excited is here today. So be a light, not a judge. Be a model, not a critic. That's by Stephen Covey. Brian's take on that, the curator of this book, is a few years ago, he had made a shift when it came to being a customer. For many years, it was a bit arrogant, critiquing and judging how companies and organizations delivered their products. After a few particularly bad weeks at work, I realized that the business of serving people can be demanding, which is an understatement of the day. I decided to start seeing people serving me as people instead of servants. My heart opened up a bit, and I realized that I must be for the delight of the customer and the server. That small opening created a space for me to write this book. Critique doesn't matter, doesn't bring you closer to delight. Delight begets delight. Great advice from my good buddy, Mr. Monahan, a mega minder. So I'm excited that we have an opportunity. If you saw the promotional pieces, we're going to talk about the significance of what ladders and giants have in common with business success. So I'm going to bring our guest up here shortly. His name is Doug Wing. He's got 40 years of experience in manufacturing, operations, sales leadership, executive management. He was co-owner and vice chairman at the Little Giant Ladder Systems before retiring in 2019. He worked at the Little Giant for 45 years with his father, brother, and other family members. And in 2020, he co-founded Bohr Investment Group. Bohr is involved in real estate rentals, property management, and he serves on the board of directors of Honoring Heroes Foundation, a charitable organization that helps fallen police officers and their families. I'm going to bring Doug up right now. That's our guest, Doug Wing. Welcome, Doug. I'm excited you're here, buddy.
Good morning, Phil. I am very honored to be on your show. And I don't know if you knew this, but Stephen R. Covey was from Provo, Utah, which is a town about 5 miles from where I grew up in Springville, Utah. And he's a member of my faith as well.
I did not know that. He's written a powerful book, and he's served a lot of people, as has the Little Giant Ladder. As I was telling you in a couple of conversations, I've used my own. I've used my own on a couple of construction projects. And again, I'm not a contractor, but I wanted a safe and reliable ladder, and that's certainly what you guys built over the years. And my family are cheap, though. Apparently, they never bought one because they knew I had one, and they knew how good it was. They'd come and always borrow it when they needed a ladder. So I'm excited to find out what the significance of having a giant and a ladder and business. So through the course of the next half hour or so, we're going to find that out. So if you're here, stay to the end. So, 2020 was an interesting year for all of us, and you started a new business in 2020. I met you in 2020. And I met a whole group of wonderful people. And I think it was because of what happened in 2020 that caused us to need to reach out and do some things differently in many cases. And in Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, he talks about when life serves you lemons, make lemonade. So I've had many opportunities to build and manufacture and create some lemonade. How about you, other than your new venture in 2020 when you started a new business?
Well, there's been a lot of changes in my life. I sold my interests in Little Giant, which was a little bit bittersweet because I grew up in the business, and it was my dad's little baby, I guess, and near and dear to my heart and to my brothers as well. But we got to the point where we had worked here our entire lives at that company, and then the third generation, there was really no future for the third generation. It just wasn't going to happen. And my brother and I both knew that. So we sold the business. And as you mentioned, I started another business with 2 other partners who are dear friends of mine. and they came from that side of the business, from the, the real estate business. And so I'm kind of a silent partner in that company. They're younger than me. They're still, very excited about things, and they know what they're doing. And so I'm kind of a silent partner there, but I'm also working on a book and a sales training program that will feature some of the, guiding core principles of my father, Hal Wing, and how he built the company, and how he was so successful, and just some of the things that he did to to be successful, and really the way he treated people. And that's a big, that's really the big part of this book, is that it's going to help business owners and sales leaders and salespeople, as they work with customers, and just gives them some pretty good little nuggets on, how to work with people. And if you treat people well, then the rest of the business will come with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the quote we used at the beginning of the show from Brian's book, from Stephen Covey. It's building the man, not the business, and the business gets built by the man. That's kind of what we said offline before we started today. So 45 years in a number of different roles. Maybe you could tell us the early days, kind of where you kind of sort of started.
Yeah, for sure. Like, a lot of people see Little Giant today, and they don't realize that the company started in 1972 by one person, my father, and it took a long time, a lot of hard work, and some good luck and things like that to bring it to where it was today. And there were some times where, there were scary moments. There's ups and downs, highs and lows. And, but I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to be there in the beginning. And my father was very wise. He, obviously we started since we were young. We started, cleaning the building and working our way through manufacturing and different things like that. But he was very wise as we moved up through the company, that we learned every position in the company and how it worked, and how, the operations of the business. And I think that served, both my brother and I very well, because first of all, it gave us an appreciation for our employees, especially when you talk about the laborers, the men and women that build ladders, and they don't make a lot of money and they work hard physically. And so it gives you an appreciation of those that really sacrifice for you. And then it also, gives you amazing insight and experiences into every function of the company. And as you move up and eventually run the company, it really helps you to understand how everything works together.
It sounds like you probably developed a lot of empathy along the way because of where your dad took you from the beginning to being in a senior leadership role by the time you left the organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was just a great experience. And my father was such a dynamic man. He just had this wonderful attitude. He didn't quit. He was so industrious and hardworking, and just set a good example of, he was the first guy out there to roll up his sleeves. And, the first year in 1972, he sold $500,000 worth of ladders by himself, which, in the 70s, I mean, you're talking about, the economy wasn't that great. And it was a toe-to-toe sale, going to fairs and shows. And it was not an easy sell to sell somebody a $300 ladder in the 70s.
Yeah, it wasn't the lowest priced, was it?
No, we were never the lowest price. And my father was a stickler, with quality. And that's something that he would just never, we would never cut corners. And so he was amazing that way. And that's one thing that really helped the company through the years, is as we, as some of our patents ran out and things like that, we had competitors that would come into the marketplace, and sometimes they would be half the price. And for us, we it wasn't easy. We never cut the quality, and when others did, their products didn't last long. And so it really served us well, and to stay with a quality product, and not to cave in and drop our price and have them built somewhere cheaper and things like that.
Right. So I know your dad had a great influence on you, and I'm happy to hear his experience. What I'm going to challenge you, though, is to share with us what were some of the things that you, as a man or a young man, or in 45 years, where there was something that you came across, a constraint, an obstacle, a barrier, and you found a way to get through it and make the magic happen on the other side. Does something come to mind?
Yeah, we, a few years ago, as I mentioned, we were kind of running out of on the patents on our original Little Giant, and we had our biggest industrial distributor. When this happened, another competitor came into the marketplace and approached our biggest industrial distributor and showed them their ladder and said, "Hey, we're half the price of the of the Little Giant, and why don't you just give us all your business and dump those guys?" And so I remember receiving a call one day from one of my sales guys that worked directly under me, and he was kind of in a panic, and he said, "Hey, I've been invited to this meeting and by our biggest industrial distributor, and they've pretty much just come out and said you need to come to this meeting prepared to show why we should keep Little Giant, because we have this other ladder company that we deal with, and they have knocked you guys off, and it's half price, and we're thinking about switching over to them with your style of product, and you need to come to our office in, I think it was about 30 days, and tell us why we should keep Little Giant." And so he said, "What are we going to do?" And he was kind of panicking a little bit. And, I told him, I said, "This is in Chicago, the Chicago area." And I said, "Hey, don't worry about things. Let me think about this for a while. And, give me a few days to think about it. We'll strategize, and we will, we'll be prepared for this meeting." And so I thought about this for a while, and then I had the idea to go and buy one of those ladders that had just come out. And so we put that ladder through all of the tests, the ANSI tests, and we found that they broke, that they didn't really pass the ANSI tests. And so we cut the ladder up, we broke it, and then we cut one of ours up and broke it, and we could show the differences in, I had the pieces, I could show the differences where theirs would break and where ours would break. And so, we went into this meeting and we didn't badmouth, this product. We just showed the differences. And I think that's a real big key, is we pointed out the differences and said, "Hey, you guys have been very successful with our ladders. And one of the reasons why is because we do not flinch on quality. We won't go there." And so we went through and showed them this. I think we even videoed some of the testing that we did. And then we showed them the parts, our parts, as they went through the tests, and then also this other ladder. And we left this meeting, and the salesman that was with me said, "Wow, that was really amazing. You were so prepared." And he said, "I don't think they're going to drop our products." And we both knew that day that they weren't. And then, about a week or 10 days later, they called us and said, "Hey, we appreciate the presentation. We're going to stay with Little Giant." And that was a real pivotal moment for the company, because, as I mentioned, we were kind of running out of patents at that time, and we were able to keep this big customer. So for the layman that may not understand what ANSI is, can you give us what that is? Yeah, that's American National Safety Institute. And so, when you build a product like a ladder, they have standards. A lot of people come up to you when they're looking at your ladder, and they say, "Is this past the OSHA test?" And OSHA they don't do that. That's ANSI. OSHA just enforces laws. But so ANSI is like the governing body for that. And up in Canada, it would be CSA.
Right.
So,
okay.
And so again, you have to run your products through certain tests. Like, for example, if you say your product's rated at 300 pounds as a step ladder and extension, it has to pass a 4 times safety load. So
So 1,200.
1,200 pounds. Yeah. So, people will come up and they say, well, I'm 350 pounds, will it hold me? And obviously if you pass it, if you test a ladder at 4 times 300 or 375, it's going to pass. It's going to be able to hold somebody that's bigger like that. So.
Wow. So here's the nuggets I got out of that story, and I appreciate that, is don't badmouth, educate, stand your ground, what you're there for, what's your core values, you did that, and prepare.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the preparation is you went and learned about your competitor to find out what the truth was, and did the comparison, and then provided that at that meeting in an educated education based. I'm having trouble talking today, which is beautiful. I work in the sales training space as well, and one of the things I'm a strong believer in is you never badmouth the competition ever, because it just blows your credibility. So I've had an opportunity to see you in a number of venues, mainly live stream, and you're consistent with your core values. So I'm pretty sure that's why with the effort that you put forth back then, and that example that you shared with us, is one of the reasons why you guys had been extremely successful.
Yeah, and again, I just when the customer has those parts in their hands and they can feel them and look at them and see, what and they can see. We even, like I said, I mentioned that we'd done some videoing on how we would break ladders and put them through those ANSI tests, and so it's very powerful when you have that video, testimonial evidence type of thing, and then when you had those parts that you can put in their hands and let them touch them and feel them.
Yeah, I totally get that. So in the sales training, one of the things I do is I use an acronym called DEFEATS. And it's each one of them is one of the ways that you can support and educate. So by demoing and exhibits and statistics and white papers, and you could use videos like you've done. Because if we say it, it's a claim. And if the customer sees it and believes it, then it's a fact. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you did. That's what I got out of hearing what you had to say. That's
exactly.
Beautiful. That's powerful. Yeah. I mean, we need to remember that, yes, we're going to be in competitive situations, and what can we do to earn the right to be of service, provide the product? And it is by what you said is beautiful. What's Joe say here? He says, I have a split screen. Proof you sell on quality, not price, and also not be known for bad-mouthing the competitor. Just provide proof of your higher quality product. Yeah, that's what you did.
Yeah, that was one of the things that my dad always, when he was in sales meetings, he would come in from time to time and he would say, you can tell customers anything you want to, as long as it's the truth. And so he was very big on that. And then, people would come up to my dad sometimes. Have you seen this ladder they came out with? It's half our price. And my dad would just calmly look at him and say, they know what their product's worth, and so do we.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah. And there's no argument. You guys knew what you were doing, what you were building, and you believed in it, and that came across. There was a story, I think, that you shared, but there was one time where your product was inferior, and I believe your father was involved with this, and he stopped production and threw away the ladders that were made at the time and started again. Is that right? Did I hear that right?
You heard that correct. When our infomercial first came out, the company experienced amazing growth and went from about 400 ladders a day in production to 7,000 a day, and switched over from 1 shift to 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. And it was during one of those, and as you can imagine, ramping up like something like that, and bringing in a bunch of new people to build the ladders, and most of them don't know what they're doing. And so my dad was so in tune, and he just had this feeling one night. He was sitting up at his house, and he just thought something's not right. And he lived about 5 miles from the factory, and he went down and and they're building ladders. It was probably this graveyard shift, and goes down, and what he saw horrified him. It just wasn't up to his quality, and so he, got the leaders there, the supervisors that were there, and said, shut all the machines down, gather everyone together. And he said, these ladders are not up to par. Every ladder that goes out has my name on it. And we are going to tonight, the next thing we do right now is we're going to destroy, and I believe it was about 800 or 900 ladders.
Wow.
So they cut up 800 or 900 ladders, and he said, we're going to start over, and we're going to build quality, and that's the way it's going to be. And an unbelievable story about, just not accepting poor quality. So he was really, really, really demanded that the quality of the product stayed the same, and that was it's a great story.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Absolutely is. Again, going back to your 45 years of experience in the various roles that you've had, what's been one of your favorite ways that you found to be a leader and inspiring people? So one of my mentors told me, if you use a word, understand what it means. So the word that's coming to mind for me right now is spirit. So what is spirit? So inspired, right? So one of the inspiration is the other part of that. So I looked up the word, and spirit comes out of what I was thinking of as inspiration. So what I do is help build spirit into the minds of the people I get to work with. In my case, it's been young athletes, hockey players, both male and female, salespeople, business owners, business leaders, to help them get to another level and elevate them. I'm sure in your 45 years leadership role, there's at least one or two stories that you could share with us that would be valuable to our viewers.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one thing that I really learned from my dad was that, and I would travel. I mean, even when I was, one of the co-owners of the company, vice chairman, I always went and wanted to hear what was going on in the industry. I wanted to stay in tune and in touch with our customers and potential customers. And so I attended a lot of big trade shows every year. And I actually went and helped set up these shows. I mean, our sales guys would go in a day early, and I always enjoyed going a day early and getting dirty. And, we're in a convention center, we're opening crates and boxes and setting up ladders. And I remember one of the last years that I worked there, this salesman came up to me and he goes, "Why do you do this? You're the owner of the company, and you're a millionaire, and you're over here, getting dirty with us and sweaty and setting up all these ladders." And I enjoyed it. I just always felt like I was one of the guys, and that I wasn't any better than anyone else. And I think that by doing that, and that it really won the respect of a lot of our employees, that I didn't just come in to the show when everything was set up. I always helped set up, and I always helped tear down. And I just felt like I was one of the guys, and I tried to really set the example, which is what my father did. For example, my dad implemented this program every year where all the sales people at Little Giant had to work for 1 week in manufacturing, and he called it Hal Week. And some of the salesmen didn't like it, and they called it Hell Week. But what my dad did, I mean, it was really, really a smart little thing that he did, because number one, as we talked about before, it really gave the salesman appreciation for those who built the product. And then number two, it gave them a knowledge of how things are built. If a customer comes up and they say, why do you put rivets on your feet? Or why do you do this? Or why do you do that? They would know why that is because they also built those ladders. And so that's one thing that I tried to do, was just to be one of the guys and to be a good example. And, to do, when I went to a trade show, I was slinging that ladder around and working with the rest of the team. And I really enjoyed that. And I think it really helped them to see, that I cared, that I loved the product, I loved the company, and cared about them as well.
You remind me of two things. One is you don't just speak it, you walk your talk, you do what you say. And then it reminded me of when I went back. I was in the printing business. One of my careers, one of the owners of a printing shop in Calgary, and decided I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to be with the people and less in the production side of things. And I had a dream of being in a new home business with a large builder out here. And at the time, before you could get into a show home and represent the product,
Mm-hmm.
you had to go through it was only 4 weeks, but you went you hung out with the construction guys. You were watching the construction. There was a whole set of things, just kind of like what you're saying. So I knew why we did what we did, and the trades, why they did what they did, and got to know the trades. And when it came to push to shove to get something done for a customer, it served me well because I built up the relationships with the team and respected them, because man, they could do some things like I've tried framing. You wouldn't want me to frame your house. That's like putting the skeleton together. It would not be a very good thing, but I understand how important it is. So it served me well, just like what you're expressing here with what you've learned as well. Here's a long one here let's put this up, see what Randy has to say. Hang on, here it comes. He says he likes your dad's idea of having sales guys spend some time in manufacturing. I've done that myself a time or two, and it certainly was beneficial. Question, here's to you. Thoughts on having production leads spend time in the field with the sales team to better understand the customer? Me personally, I think that's a great idea. What do you think?
Yeah, I do. We would do that, especially if we had, like, we when I was, right before I retired, we were involved with a lot of cable telecom things, and we did that quite often. We would have engineers come out with us. We would have production guys come out with us, and so they could really see what the issue was, if there was an issue going on with the ladders, and it would really help them to see how they were using them and what applications, and then what they really needed. And so, yeah, we've done that from time to time. But I think it's pretty impressive too. Another thing is I went on a lot of big sales calls, and our sales reps would introduce me, and they're like, "This is one of the owners of the company." And I think that a lot of our customers were so impressed that, oh my gosh, here's one of the owners of the company. He cares about us, and he's interested in our business. And I would hand him my card, and when we're done, call me anytime. And I don't think you see that very often from the management of a lot of companies, where they're out there listening to their customers, and they're interested in them, and they want to know more about them, and show them that they care. And so I think that went a long ways too. I know our sales guys really loved it. They're like, "Man, I can't believe I'm going out on calls with one of the owners of the company." I enjoyed it. I liked it, and I think our customers enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I think it's fabulous. And I don't think enough companies do that. There's others that are doing it, but a fraction of that. There was a posting on LinkedIn of a company that I'm following, and there was somebody had posted something about leadership is not bullying people, it's inspiring people. I'm paraphrasing what it said, but obviously you guys were doing things right, because you had a very successful business, even though there was the ups and downs. And I'm glad you shared that, because some people think that they're going to start a business, and then, as a result of that, just goes straight up. Well, that's not true. There's things that happen, like things out of the control, like last year, 2020. Who knew that was going to happen? So all of those factors. So I want to switch gears a little bit, because we've talked a lot about business, and we've learned some things about what's the significance of giants, ladders, and business success. You've shared some nuggets, and I'm sure we could talk for half a day and still not touch all of the things that you've earned and learned along the way in terms of skills. So what do you do, the Doug Wing that's not doing business stuff? What do you do when you're not doing your business stuff? And what have you done for just pure enjoyment?
Well, when I'm not involved in working in, businesses and things like that. I do like to play golf. My brother and my dad and I, when we were younger, my brother and I, we got into dirt biking, and we actually, were racing from, 11 years old up until, really competitively till I was about 19. And then, something that really changed my life was I served a mission at 19 for my church for 2 years, and went and talked to people about religion and knocked on their doors. And that really did a couple of things for me. It really helped me to learn more about people. I learned that there are so many good people out in the world that may not be the same religion I am, but then they're very good people. And then I really learned how to communicate and talk to people. And it really helped me to come out of my shell a little bit. And great experience. I've had a chance to do 2 of those missions, one when I was a little bit older, obviously, and one when I was younger. And really enjoy that. Like to exercise, those types of things. Hiking,
You collect things though too, don't you?
Well, I enjoy cars. I enjoy motorcycles, and
Yeah.
I mean, COVID was really. I did a lot of car shows, and was in a couple of car clubs and have some really good friends and that do a lot of that stuff. And boy, when COVID came out, that really impacted so many people, and it kind of just, the car show thing just kind of died. But yeah, I mean, it's something I enjoy. My dad was a big car guy, and it's a lot of fun.
So I just wanted to put this up there because I think you emulate this. I first saw this from somebody we both know through Jeffrey Gittimer's live stream that he does every day. And somebody put in, Pat Hazel put in, yes, you expect sales. But I wanted to broaden that, because what we're sharing with the audiences today is more than just selling. It's about running a business, living a life. And if we step into the world and say yes and expect success, that resonated with me. And I don't know if you've ever done improv at all, or if you've watched it. Watching it and doing it is 2 totally different things. But one of the things that I learned in the improv space was, in order for improv to be good, in order for life to be good or better, is to say yes to it and expect a positive outcome. If you say no in improv, it ends the skit and it goes away. It's kind of the same thing in life. So I just wanted to share that before I put up the contact information for you, because you're retired from one aspect of life, but you're doing some other things. Like you've got your investment, but you're also investment business, real estate holdings, those sort of things. And you've mentioned a couple of times that you're writing a book, and that's a work in progress, I imagine. So I wanted to put this up here so that if anybody wanted to get hold of you for a conversation or ask you a question, they know how to get hold of you. I should have said, is that okay first? Because now I've already done it and the world sees it. So
sure, it's okay. Yeah. And on that website, there is a place where when they go on that website, it'll pop up and they can be notified when my book comes out, and they can actually put their name and information in there. And I'm really excited about this book. And I really appreciate my friend Jeffrey Gittimer, who I've known for years and years. And we've been talking about a lot of stories over the years about my father, about Little Giant. And, he's really the man that kind of inspired me and said, you have to tell this story, because you're going to help so many people and so many companies with the things that he taught you and that he shared with his employees. And so, the book is really to help cement his legacy, and then also to use his wonderful teachings and wisdom to bless the lives of other companies and other people and employees. And along with that book, we're working on a little training program that will really be something great. And the other night I was having dinner with a friend and his partner in a business, and all we did was we talked. I just shared a bunch of Halloween stories with him over dinner, and told him I was writing this book. And when we got done, we were walking back to the car, And both of these gentlemen shook my hand and said, "We want to be your first customer." And I'm like, "What?" And they said, "We want you to come and teach our employees the exact same thing you taught us tonight at dinner." And I didn't even realize I was teaching them anything, but they were so excited. And they said, "Can you come to Vegas in May and, teach our company?" And I said, "Yeah, for sure. I can do that." And even though, my program is not complete, but they want me to come and teach them some things in May. And then they said, "We want you back every year annually." And so I was pretty excited about that. So this is my first customer. Yeah. As far as, that part of this new business.
Yeah, excellent. And it's not like you need to study to get prepared for it because you've lived a life. So what you shared with them in the conversation, they obviously recognize the magic and the potential and the wisdom that you could share with them. That was one of the reasons why I was excited for you to be here. You're an all-around nice guy as well, but helping you get your book out there a little bit in some way, shape, or form speaks to my psyche. Not everything I do is for money, because I love people and use money. I don't do it the other way around, and I'm thinking you're the same kind of guy. So this was terrific. We're a little over the 30 minutes, but you know what? It was worth hanging out for a few extra minutes. So if you want to get a hold of Doug, there's his information there. And if you have any questions for me, if you can see that, it's the Business Renovator, Phil at coachphil.ca, and my website is coachphil.ca. This was a blast. Thanks for being here, buddy. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Phil. I do appreciate the time.